Okay, welcome to part 2. I believe I left this story at, I believe I was in the Bell County Sheriff's Department in Bruce Bennett's office, Sheriff Bruce Bennett, telling me that he just did not have the resources to do anything about this drug house that was in the holler. And I had asked him, I said, well, you know, he's got his fence, a big part of his yard is actually my property. I said, you know, I'm going to get a surveyor in there. I said, now, once that survey is done, can I remove the fence from my property? And he said, if you do that, I'll have to arrest you. I said, what? He said, you're going to have to do this by the book. He said, you're going to have to sue him in court and have the fence removed legally. So he didn't have the resources to stop the drug dealing. But if I had took the fence off my property, well, you know, he was damn sure going to make sure I went to jail. So at this point, I did not need a weatherman to tell me which way the wind was blowing. Sheriff Bennett was not going to be an ally of mine. He was obviously already bought and paid for, long before I showed up to Bell County. So, and some people in Bell County will argue that, but they've not had the experiences that I have had with the Bell County Sheriff's Department. So, we're going to fast forward a little bit back to my place. Now, the timber was sold to Jerry. I'm trying to remember if I mentioned it in the last video. I'm sure I did. Jerry had went to the bank to collect the money, or to get the check for me, which was $230,000. Meanwhile, his guys were bringing in the equipment, the dozer and the skidder. I don't think they brought the loader yet, but they brought the dozer and the skidder. Charles Garland, a.k.a. Super Trooper, the state police officer that was in Frito's pocket, living at Frito's house at this point, he gets into his patrol car because state cops get to take their cars home, and he gets in his car, and I'm sitting on my porch and I can see what's going on down at the head of the holler, and he drives his patrol car over to where the equipment was and Jerry's guys were at. And I thought to myself, well, this can't be good. So I went ahead and I walked down there to see what was going on. I get down there and Charles Garland, Officer Garland, he is just writing ticket after ticket. He's got his little book out. He's flipping through it to figure out what more, you know, what codes he was just burning up that ticket book. I think he ended up writing like 10 or 15 tickets. And Jerry's foreman, a guy named General, looks at Officer Garland and says, how are we supposed to do any work if you're going to write us tickets like this? And Garland looked right at him, and I'm standing next to General, and old Super Trooper goes, there's not one tree coming out of off this property. And he was looking at General, but he was looking at me, and I know he was hoping for a reaction, but I wasn't going to give him one, because I know that he was dying for any excuse to put me in handcuffs. And I was not going to oblige him. So Garland did his thing, and then we went back to my house, me and General and Jonathan and Jed. It was Jonathan and Jed, or Ballman and Jonathan, I think. Anyway, we're down at my house waiting for Jerry to come from the bank. And Jerry shows up, and Jerry's got he's got my check for $230,000, and he's happy because, you know, Jerry's going to make a pretty good amount of money on my timber. I mean, we both made really good deals on it. Contractually, you know, Jerry had bought my timber. He bought it, the deal was done. Jerry shows up, and he could tell, could tell by the looks on our faces. He said, "What's going on?" And General says, "Jerry, we can't get the trees out of here." And Jerry originally thought we were pulling his leg, and he kind of chuckled. He's like, "Yeah, you know, what's going on?" And I said, "Jerry, we got big problems." And General goes, "Look, that cop down there is not going to let us use this road. We can't get any of the trees out of here." The most logical way to get the trees out was through that hollow road. For a lot of different reasons, that really was the only option to get the trees out of there. A big part of my property is surrounded by the Cumberland River, and the other part's just too high to skid logs over. I mean, really, the only way to bring any of the trees out were out that way. And this state police officer was not going to let us take any trees down that road. So Jerry was in a real bind. Now Jerry, I could tell, you know, once he realized that this was for real. I mean, Jerry's a hell of a nice guy. Small time operator. He only has like 5 employees, and contractually he was on the, he had bought them trees, and he had the right to log those trees for a year. And bottom line, that $230,000 loss would bankrupt him. And so I looked at Jerry and I said, Jerry, I said, listen, I said, why don't you just hold on to that check until we see if you can get your trees out of here. I said, because I don't want your money if you can't get the trees out. And I could see he kind of breathed a sigh of relief. I couldn't in good conscience enforce that contract with him. Especially since part of me thought that a lot of this was my own doing for pissing off the drug dealer. So Jerry said, are you sure? And I said, yeah. I said, I'm absolutely sure. Now understand that this project was to be done in order. So bottom line, if I couldn't get my trees out of there, there was no way I was ever going to get the coal out. So this became a very serious deal for me because I already had a lot of money tied into this project. And I just couldn't eat it like that. I mean, it would have destroyed me. So Jerry and I kind of brainstormed and decided that our best bet was to go to the judge magistrate. The judge magistrate in Bell County is in charge of all the roads. And this particular guy's name was Judge Kelly. And I can't think of his first name, but he was a hell of a nice guy. So Jerry said, listen, I'll pick you up at 7:30 in the morning, and we're going to be at Judge Kelly's office bright and early. And I said, okay. I said, okay, that'll be fine. I said, we'll see if we can't get the judge to help us out on this. I'm going to stop here and pick up for part 3.